But again, I like to have fun with it, and that's what everybody should do. If they're not at least checking out a new comic once in a while, I think they're cheating themselves.
Hey everyone, welcome to a slightly different episode of Muddled Dice. It is Free Comic Book Day 2018, and we are on our way to Comics and Gaming in Gainesville, Virginia. We're just going to kind of walk around the event, look at some comics, talk to some people, and have fun.
What's your name?
I'm Josh.
Josh? All right, what brings you out here today?
Oh, Free Comics, man. It's it's a tradition for us. We've been doing Free Comic Book Day for roughly 10 years now. I mean, I come with my dad and my brothers, and this year's the first year my 1-year-old son can come. So that's always cool. So start the tradition over with him, and just a good day to go out and support your local comic book store.
Nice.
You know.
So you're going to get your son into comics? What are you going to introduce him to first?
I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, but I mean, to each their own. I love Turtles. I mean, I love Spider-Man. Anything. I just like reading comics. I mean, I prefer Marvel, but I mean, I've read a lot of good DC stories, even some good IDW ones with Turtles, and I mean, there's comics are great. I'm not a huge book reader, but I love reading comics because you can visualize it, a lot better. But
you checked out the Spider-Man game over there?
Yeah, I did. I was actually talking to that guy. He gave me a free copy of the Second Son game for PlayStation. So I'm super excited about that. Don't have a PlayStation yet, but I am planning on getting one here soon.
Well, mostly we were coming out to hang out with my friend Brandon here. Cool. He mentioned that you guys were here. I didn't know this place was here. We live about half an hour away, so it's not like we're in the area all the time.
Right.
But now that I know it's here, this is exciting.
Cool. So what's like your favorite free comic you've seen here today?
Well, Amazing Spider-Man. So I'm a big Invincible fan, huge Invincible fan. And Ryan Ottley, the artist from Invincible, who worked on, I guess, about 130 of the 150 issues, jumped onto Amazing Spider-Man, is now the artist for Amazing Spider-Man, and this is his first comic on Amazing Spider-Man, and it's on Free Comic Book Day, Free Spider-Man Day. That's what it is for me.
Nice.
We come to Free Comic Book Day up here every year.
Cool.
For like 3 or 4 years now.
Okay, nice. To this shop? So you've been a customer of this shop for 4 years?
Yep. Not regularly because we're pretty far out, but we come here for Free Comic Book Day every year.
Cool. What's your what's your favorite comic you've either bought in today or gotten for free?
I picked up the first 12 issues of the CM Punk Drax run in the Dollar Comics, which is pretty sweet. He's like my favorite wrestler, so I been wanting to read that run for a while.
Very cool.
So yeah, that's probably my favorite thing I've picked up so far.
So what brings you guys out here today?
Free Comic Book Day, right? Right, dude? Yes, Free Comic Book Day.
So what's your favorite comic out here?
For me, it was Silver Surfer and Preacher, but I'm having new favorites now that I follow his lead, and he finds new stuff and wants to see it, so,
cool.
So right now it's, Transformers, right, and Iron Man?
Iron Man? You like Iron Man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And it changes, the first love was Darth Vader, right? and then Batman, and now Iron Man and Transformers.
Batman's a good one, right?
Yeah.
You like Batman?
It takes a minute. We're not there yet, right? With an audience, right? You're like mommy, you don't just go with it.
Here at Free Comic Book Day, what's your name?
Gary Schlegelmilch.
How many Free Comic Books Day have you done out here at this shop?
At this shop, I think it's 5 or 6, but I've been going to one shop or another since the first comic book day. I don't even remember how long ago it was, 15, 16 years, something like that. But the event's been around for a long time.
Okay.
Well, from the perspective of a reader and a collector, it's a wonderful opportunity to sample new books, learn about new artists, discover new storylines, and it gives people a chance to just take something home and read it. And if they don't care for it, there's no harm done. But if they do like it, it gives them a new way to entertain themselves. This is a medium to be enjoyed. I know there's a lot of people that just collect and never get a chance to read it, and certainly there are investors that buy books to turn around. But me, I've been reading for a long, long time, and that is the one and only reason I buy them. Okay. Your friendly neighborhood comic book shop, come out and see them. You would probably be surprised how wide the comic book field is now. If you have a favorite TV show, there's probably something to read. If you're a science fiction fan, the kids, we have all kinds of books now. The children's market is far more open than it was even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So I encourage everybody, read. There's wonderful stuff out there. Please don't deprive yourself of the adventure.
Well, we got a couple. We do Digital Hoarders. It's our gaming podcast, where we just kind of try to keep. A lot of gaming stuff these days is very negative, very finding the thing that you don't like and talking about that for an hour.
Right.
We didn't want to do that. We get really tired of that. Okay. So we wanted to find a show where we could talk about the things that we love about it. Also, digitally hoarding things. At this day and age, that's so commonplace. You see 10 games on sale and you're like, when are they going to be that cheap again?
Yeah.
I've got to get all 10.
Yeah.
Suddenly you've got 600 games sitting in your backlog that you're never going to get to.
Yeah. Is your Steam library like 1,000 games long?
Steam library is very big. I've never gone back to look and see how many games it is because it's too many. But my PS4 library too is 600 plus games. I'm not going to play 600 plus games. That's why I don't look at the Steam one, because when I look at 1,000 on top of that, get out of here.
Yep.
I don't have time for that.
Yep.
I got kids. I got jobs. I got too much to do. It's nice to have that forum where we can kind of talk to people who are in that position as well.
Yeah.
Do a second show, #DadPod, which is more being a modern dad. I wish, it's hard to describe that show because it really is the two of us kind of sitting down at a table, or sometimes not a table because we don't feel like pulling the table out. But that's what we are, is just kind of two dads talking about our lives and trying to make each other laugh for an hour. Occasionally we talk about kid-related topics, where we talk about bullying and we talk about online safety and that kind of stuff. But at the same time, there are episodes where we talk about things that are too vulgar for me to even know what I should and shouldn't say right now. Because we're just two guys trying to make each other laugh.
Is there are you on SoundCloud, or is like any website you can go to see them?
Digital Hoarders we do live on YouTube every week, and we have a chat that you can jump in. It's really fun. We have a small fan base, but they're very passionate about it, and they like to jump in and joke around for an hour and a half while we talk. We also put that one, the audio goes up on pretty much everything, and then #DadPod is audio only. And I spend hours editing that every week because Brandon likes to say things that are just off the wall that I'm like, we can't put that on here. But that one's only on audio. It's iTunes, Google Play, whatever. So it's on anything. You look it up, #DadPod. Don't look up DadPod because there is another DadPod. They aped that name, and and we took hashtag #DadPod.
Okay, so hashtag DadPod.
DadPod.
Okay, right.
Idris, like Idris Elba, the guy who plays Heimdall.
Awesome. All right, so what brings you out here today?
One, I was in the area. I used to live around here, and I've always liked coming to this comic book store. And anytime it's Free Comic Book Day, I'm always coming out to see what kind of things that I could, new comics that I haven't heard of, or and just getting reacquainted with the place.
Cool. What's the best thing you found today for free, or that you bought?
I haven't bought anything, but
it is Free Comic Book Day.
It is. Well, I mean, I could buy things because I'm known for that, but this Malika. It's I believe, queen of this one, I think a country. I don't know if it's in Africa, but it's definitely heavy in African themes. And I got this last year, actually. Yeah, Warrior Queen.
Okay.
I got it last year at Comic Book Day, and so this is a new free comic that came out. And it's just reminding me, I don't know why I did not look at more of her stuff, because it was awesome when I first read it. Great stuff. Good action, great character. Yeah.
Very cool. So how long have you been reading comics?
A good amount. I got into it near when Green Lantern, the movie, we're not talking about too much, but when that came out, because there was a lot of buzz around it, and when I started learning more about it, I was like, ooh, this is cool, and I started getting more into the Green Lantern comics, and so that's when I kind of got into it.
Cool. All right, so Green Lantern is the first comic you read?
No, actually, Tintin was near the first comics that my brothers and I read. We always checked them out at the library, but as far as like actually keeping up with new ones that would come out, it'd be Green Lantern, but actual comics reading first was the Tintin comics, which are obviously decades old.
Yeah. Very cool.
It's Free Comic Book Day. Got my kids out here trying to start a little collection going with them, and just enjoying the nice weather and having a good time.
Cool. So what's your favorite comic you've gotten here today?
Right now I'm reading the Shattered Grid event for Power Rangers.
Okay.
It's a pretty recent storyline. It's pretty cool. Heard it was going to be a good one, and just got my kids with some Adventure Time comics and looking for some Transformers and just having a good time.
Cool.
My mom tells me a story that I got caught when I was 4 stealing a comic book at a 7-Eleven. So I guess, it's been a lifelong thing.
You remember what comic that was, or like your first comic?
I do not. No, I don't.
So we were talking off camera. You said you do custom action figures?
Yeah, I build custom action figures in my spare time. You guys can check out my work. It's on Instagram, Stray80. Stray80. Stray 80.
Cool.
So check it out. I've been doing it for about 3 years. It's really fun, little meditation. But yeah.
I'm supporting comics and gaming here in Gainesville as a member of the 501st. They asked us to come and join us for Free Comic Book Day, and there's myself and hopefully a few others will be showing up a little bit later today.
Cool. Can you explain a little what the 501st is?
We're an all-volunteer organization. We are into the costuming on the Empire side. We do have a couple sister organizations, one for the Rebel Alliance and one for Mandalorians, if people are interested in that. And we attend events, all volunteer type events, nothing for profit. We build our own costumes, and we just go and have fun. We visit cancer wards for children, to help lift spirits, or we attend events like this where we can really kind of get the community out. You may have seen us in lines for some of the Star Wars movies recently, harassing some of the people in line just to kind of giving them something to do while they're waiting in line. That's typically a request by the theaters for us to come in and support events like that. Like for the new Solo movie that's coming out, we'll be there at various theaters.
Cool. So I'll admit I'm not a huge Star Wars. I don't know a lot about it. Can you explain your costume? Can you explain your costume a little bit?
What I'm wearing right now is a very basic costume. It's easy to get involved with 501st with something as simple as this. This is called a TIE Reserve or an Imperial Bridge Crew costume. It's boots, the flight suit, the belt, the hat. Optional items are things like my belt boxes, the blaster pistol, gloves, and then you can go from this basic costume. I can go to one of 3 different costumes. I can either put on a Imperial Naval helmet, which is those like samurai open-faced helmets. You can also get a gunner helmet, which is, they call it the jawbone, which is, the guys who pulled the switch and fired the Death Star, those guys, or a TIE pilot, which is the helmet, hoses, and a chest kit. The guy who's coming later today, he'll actually be in a TIE pilot, but it's basically the same under costume, what I'm wearing right now. You just change a helmet based on what you want to do. Today's a little hot, and I decided I didn't want to be, kind of in my bucket, so I'm wearing my Imperial cap with my TIE Reserve costume, or Imperial Bridge Crew costume.
Very cool. All right. So do you read comics much at all, or?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've been into comics since the 70s.
Okay. Do you remember what the first comic you read was?
I want to say it was a Black Panther, believe it or not.
Nice.
I bought it in Michigan when I was little, and I said, "Oh, this cover looks great." It was Black Panther number 7. I think I still have it.
Right.
From there, I kind of fell in love with Jack Kirby, got into the Elementals and Thor and all the other stuff. Right. So yeah.
As he walks away, having thrown me under the bus. Yeah, it's all good. We're good.
Yep.
My name's Angus Goldberg.
All right, and you are the co-writer of Ranger?
Yes, I am.
All right, so that is a comic book. You want to tell us a little bit about it?
It's basically, it was inspired by really the failure of the recent Lone Ranger film by Disney.
Okay.
And I thought, like, here we've got this, like, classic tale that, most people will have some sense of the Lone Ranger if you tell the story, but the film bombed, right? And I was like, this is like a solid story, but I don't think it has the immediacy that people can really relate to in terms of, we want a sort of an edgier Western these days.
Okay.
And I was thinking, but there is an analog we can make, and part of this is a family member who served in 3rd Battalion of the Ranger Regiment for a number of years. I thought the concept behind the Lone Ranger actually, and it's open source. It's an open. Okay. It's in public domain. The Ranger belongs to everybody. That you could take this concept and you could modernize it and adapt it to an environment to which people could relate. And what we did was we took a Ranger Regiment recon element, which is basically just a fire team in this instance, and we took the traditional story of the Lone Ranger and we put it in Afghanistan at the height of the last surge in 2011, where you had a Ranger element that was tasked with pursuing a particular, what we call, there's an acronym for non-governmental forces, but basically anti-coalition forces in Afghanistan. And we thought, well, let's take this story, and we have our Butch Cavendish figure, who in this instance, and I'm assuming people are familiar with the story of the Lone Ranger, but you have your Ranger team who are taken out onto they're tasked with targeting a high-value actor, a high-value target, and they get to the location of the raid, and nothing is as it seems. They don't find a hardened terrorist. They find a dude partying in the middle of the Hindu Kush with a bunch, with a DJ, and he's got music going on, and a shark in a fish tank kind of stuff. Right. And they're like, "What's going on with this?" And they return, and he provides them with an explanation. I don't want to give away the story, but he provides them with an explanation. They go back to the person who is he's sort of a paramilitary contractor, our Cavendish, who, when he finds out that they let this guy go and it wasn't what they intended, he ambushes the Ranger team with his element. And of course, we're left with one survivor, who is our Lone Ranger. And he is rescued by our Tonto figure, who we name Amok. It's a little known, it's a bad fact about Lone Ranger, that Tonto means stupid in Spanish, which is not cool if you really think about it. That's like, it's Sherman Alexie has the book, The Lone Ranger and Tonto get into a fist fight in heaven, and you understand it when realize that's his name. So we gave our character Amak, his name Amak, which is Pashto for stupid.
Okay.
And we explained it by when the guy's like, what do you know, he's like, your name means stupid, how do you feel about that? And he's like, this is Afghanistan, let them think I'm stupid. Ideas can get you killed here.
Okay.
And so he nurses our ranger back to health for his own reasons, because he's tied up. It's really ultimately, while it's an adventure story, it's a story about law enforcement and the heroin trade.
Okay.
And the nexus in the sort of the Golden Triangle in southern Afghanistan between terrorism, heroin, and the failure of the rule of law in Afghanistan. And we're using the story as the Rangers nurse back to health and has to make his way into Pakistan for various reasons. We're using this to explore those themes and to provide a pretty rip-roaring story.
Sure.
There's a lot of high-speed car chases through Peshawar. There are dodgy meetings in the middle of the desert, so on and so forth. And I think we've got a good story that provides a retake on the Lone Ranger that sort of reboots it, makes it interesting, and allows people to get a sense of some of the complexity of this war that we've been fighting in Afghanistan now for nigh on 20 years.
Right.
So that's the story of Lone Ranger. That's it.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So is it going to be like are you thinking like, is it short form
right
or
now,
longer?
Issue 1's already been printed.
Okay.
We're working, we've got everything's ready for the printer for issues 2 and 3. I probably, be honest, Goldberg, I have to sort of motivate and finish writing issues 5 and 6.
Okay.
They've been on the burner for a little bit. But once we've done that, our first story arc takes us through that initial story.
Yeah.
And then we're hoping to put it out there as a trade as well.
Okay.
But use it as a jumping off point to, again, explore those issues of international crime,
right,
sub-state actors, and what we look at as competitive control agencies,
okay,
like gangs, basically.
Yeah.
And so we're going to take our Ranger team. It's going to end with them probably in the United States, the Ranger and Amak, and they're going to probably make their way down across the border into Mexico eventually, because we're following the global heroin trade in terms of the story.
Sure.
And that'll take us down into It's the tri-border country in South America, where, I mean, if you want to surprise yourself and horrify yourself, look at what goes on in it's Paraguay, Uruguay, and I want to say it's Brazil. I can't remember, but it's basically sort of, it's Mos Eisley Spaceport.
Okay.
If you go down there today, you know, and so we're going to take them down there, and eventually we're going to bring it all together with the, our bad guy getting pursued, probably back to Afghanistan or Russia or someplace like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So, I got one more question, but if you got to go.
Oh no, this is my little one.
Okay. All right. So, other than Lone Ranger, any other influences you drew on?
Oh boy, I'm a trained historian,
okay,
so I rely on the vast tableau that human history gives us, for good or ill. In terms of comic books, Tom will tell you, I'm a bad collector in the sense I'm like, bags and boards, that's for fools. And then I spill like a jar of jam on a pile of comics. So I'm like, who is the fool? I am the fool. In terms of writers, I really like. There are a couple great works of nonfiction that are out there as comics, and now Camera Shy, I'm trying to remember their names. There's oh boy, I'll fall on Gonick, who does the cartoon history of the universe and everything. But there is some great nonfiction out there in terms of comics. There's the 4-volume history of Japan that was done. That's great. I really liked, in terms of military history, there was that graphic novel that, and we should all know his name, and I should know his name. He passed just recently. He did Sergeant Rock. It's Kubrick. Do we know who I'm talking about? Who did Sergeant Rock for years?
I don't know.
Except Tom, who is the artist, and shame on me, who did Sergeant Rock for years? It's Camera Shy. Camera Shy. So yeah, so he has a graphic novel that he wrote about a fight that took place in 1966 in Vietnam. Vietnam, that special forces team, and it's based on a true story. That's an amazing piece of just graphic art. It's a great story. Cool. So that's one of my influences. But ultimately, it's history and all nonfiction comics I can get my hands on. Even to the point of looking at old issues of Classics Illustrated, right? Which can be disappointing, but you're like, well, that's their take on Napoleon. Okay, right. So that's what I would say. I look to past works. Gustave Doré, who was a 19th century lithographer, did actually some proto comics that are great, and that's on like the Crimean War and stuff. So that's what I'd say.
All right. If you could live in any one comic book universe, big two, indie, whatever, which would it be? If you could live in one comic book universe, which one would it be? If you could live in any comic universe, what would it be?
Oh man, that's a hard question. I don't know, man.
Well, let's see. Let's set aside most of the adult ones for a moment.
Big two, indie, whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think I
probably a more indie one that I don't know that I'd want to live in a big comic book universe with the high percentage chance of alien death, etc. Sure. So a more small-time, closed-space one, and on the other side of the planet of whatever.
Marvel.
Marvel. Okay.
Marvel. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Just like the extended universe.
Yeah, Marvel extended universe. It's pretty complex. I like DC. I like some of the older DC stories, but Marvel seems to be a little bit more rich, especially in the cinematic universe. They have a little bit more backstory and a little bit more emotion to it, rather than some of the campiness.
I'm a huge Age of Apocalypse fan, so like that like kind of crazy universe where Apocalypse took over, killed off Professor Xavier, Magneto's the ruler. It would be a crappy universe to live in, but if I had superpowers and was actually able to be on a team, I would love to live in that universe. I mean, it's kind of hard because it's like, would I live in a universe where I actually had powers, or a universe where I'm just a regular person? So I'd say if I had powers, I'd live in the Age of Apocalypse universe.
About 20 years ago, I realized how much I appreciated some of the funny animal books.
Okay.
A few years ago, there was one called Captain Carrot, The Amazing Zoo Crew. It was basically animals doing, superhero stuff, and I found that wonderful. So I'm not sure I could pick a single universe, but I will tell you that I was at Universal Studios down in Florida, and they had the Marvel superhero parade. Right. And as much as I hate having my picture taken, I got one with Captain America.
Nice.
Honestly, DC, just because I've always but I've always liked the heroes more, and so I'd want to be in a universe with those.
Just the general DC extended universe?
Basically, yeah, the core ones and as well as the extended ones, for sure.
Cool.
Yep.
Right. Marvel universe, yeah. Yeah, I would say, 90s Jim Lee Marvel, maybe.
Okay. That's specific. I like that. Yeah. All right. Alright, well that was Free Comic Book Day 2018. Thanks so much to Comics and Gaming for inviting us out. To everyone who let us interview them, thank you so much. It was so much fun talking to you guys. Tyke and I just had a blast. Hope to run into you guys again next year. Good night.